I remember like being down in like her guard, and I was like, I don't want to fight anymore. Like, this isn't for me. I've always had that voice like in my head telling me like, you can't do it, and you're not supposed to be here. And then me like fighting back on that voice. I think that's why I get so hyped after matches and like fights and stuff, because it's like I just like overcame like myself more than like me beating this person. It's never I'm getting excited that I beat this person. It's I just defeated myself.
What's up, everybody? We're back with another HJR podcast with probably the most dangerous father-daughter duo on the planet, Bella and Frank Mir. Thank you for coming on. Frank, how does it feel? What are your nerves? How close she is to the UFC?
Oh, I'm really not nervous about that. It's almost so inevitable. It's like watching a cup fall. I know it's gonna hit the ground, right? Like there's no part. If it stopped midair, that would probably be less shocking to me than knowing that Bella doesn't go become a UFC champion and string along a series of victories. That's because I live with her. I've seen what she is, her personality, her goals, and then how she covers everything. I mean, she has every strength that I have and her mother, but none of the weaknesses. It's unreal. Like, as far as like, I have a couple things that are unique in the world, like my ability to see things in the martial arts world and my mind. Definitely, I put it to test to anybody else's that I have no superior. That being said, though, like my weaknesses of just following through with discipline and like, all right, did you make sure you only ate 300 calories in that one meal? I'm like, yeah, like I'm just not as disciplined in any stretch of the imagination as Isabella is. And so her dedication to have all those talents and then also just take care of the very mundane, the very boring, the brush your teeth perfectly for 2 minutes every day, and not, and not a second shorter, not a second longer. That aspect of it is what's really going to propel her to be a champion, because there's people that are talented in the world, and the talent almost becomes a double-edged sword. It almost is like, what got you the game is what's going to take you out of the game. Whereas with Bella, not only is she super talented and things do come easy for her, but she works hard for it too. And that's just, I haven't ever seen that before.
Do you agree with that? Do you feel like you're ridiculously disciplined, that it's going to be what propels you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always just looking towards like my goals and what I want to achieve, and I always think like, what do I have to do to get there? So I always have that like small voice in the back of my head, like you're gonna lose if you don't do this the right way, and if I don't like eat a certain way, if I don't wake up at a certain time when I'm supposed to, it like eats at me. So I feel like I'm always disciplined of whatever I'm achieving at during that part of the year, if it's wrestling, jiu-jitsu, or MMA.
UFC in general, there's a lot of things moving around, kind of evolving and growing. But looking at the UFC's female bantamweight division, what fighters do you see yourself matching up well against, and which ones do you see yourself maybe wanting to train a little bit more for, if any?
I've definitely thought about like Kayla would definitely be like the hardest one. Her, like Amanda, just because like the grappling aspect, like I definitely feel like their levels of grappling are very high. But I definitely feel like my striking is like evolving a lot. And I feel like when I'm watching a lot of these girls at their highest level and their peak, I definitely feel like I could get to a higher peak when I'm at that level.
I think Kayla Harris with Bella, right now they fight. Bella would have a difficult time putting Kayla down because of her judo and her balance, where her head position is. But I think Kayla also is going to have a very hard time with not be able to put Bella down either. I think their grappling is actually, not that the grappling is the same, they're different, but they still nullify each other. Then it turns into a striking match, which Bella, because of her footwork and understanding of distance, our footwork is similar to like a Wonder Boy Thompson. And I think that's the proper footwork for MMA. That's what I teach. Taught what I was trying to do earlier in my career, then I had people tell me I was wrong. And then I would, okay, coach, you know what you're talking about. And actually pull back from my abilities. If you watch like my first Nogueira fight, footwork is so important in being able to move your center of gravity towards and from people. Bella understands that. She has everything that I didn't have. I get to, like, okay, I figured it out. Let me make sure you can take over and do it. And she does it to a high level. So striking-wise, she murders her. So that's how I see that fight going, victory for Bella. And then with Amanda, I think Amanda's striking is very dangerous. She's very powerful. But Bella, though, we would just grind her the first round, really just not even engage in striking, very little, but just pressuring against the cage, pummeling with her, because Amanda's endurance has always been questionable. Bella's is not even slightly. So I would, hey, we're going to cook her the first round. Second round, we'll see what breaks down, and the third round, we'll put her away.
I love it. I mean, obviously, there's probably a few fights in between those, but maybe not. I mean,
No, we will. That being said, I have confidence right now that if we had to fight them this weekend, we're still going to win. But it's not by the margin of error that I want to win by. So that's why, even with that mindset, I don't want to fall into the max where I could think that, but I still want to be cautious and err on the side of caution. We're still going to take fights slowly and just, hey, time's on her side.
with Frank Mir as your father, do you ever feel pressure to match his achievements in this sport?
No. I definitely, growing up, have put anything that he's ever won kind of into a goal more than like pressure. Always wanting to achieve that and more. I never like when I was younger, yeah, like I would definitely feel pressure going into matches or just like living my life and people looking at you and be like, oh, are you going to follow in his footsteps? Are you going to go be great like he is? So I definitely have felt that when I was younger. But as I got older and I saw that hard work and discipline and just staying focused could get me there, I definitely felt the pressure come off.
Did you ever feel that pressure from Frank?
No. He tried getting me
I was
out
going
of
to say,
it. Yeah.
was it the other way around?
He like pushed softball so much and college and going down that route, go to UCLA for softball. And then right before like I like made that commitment, I was like, you know, I want to go be a pro athlete and this is, I feel like, my calling. So
Frank has mentioned that one of the first punches you ever took broke your nose in a MMA fight?
Yeah, my nose was I didn't break it, but it was really, really bloody. It was bleeding a lot. Yeah, when he talks about like that voice that tells you like you don't want to be there, like I've had that voice every fight. Like in the beginning of that, when I remember like getting like punched, and then I remember catching her teep and then going down, and I remember like being down in like her guard, and I was like, I don't want to fight anymore. Like this isn't for me. And then I went through that.
How humble is that?
Went through that entire fight. And then like each round I was like, no, okay, like we got this. Even like my third fight, I remember like taking her down, and I remember she was like super like squirmy, and I was like in mount, and it felt like she was about to reverse me. And I like had that thought like, okay, like what if she just reversed me and just like pounds me out and then we could just be done. Then I was like, no, like we have to keep fighting. So I've always had that voice like in my head telling me like you can't do it and you're not supposed to be here. And then me like fighting back on that voice. I think that's why I get so hype after matches and like fights and stuff, because it's like I just like overcame like myself more than like me beating this person. It's never I'm getting excited that I beat this person. It's I just defeated myself.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest win ever.
And do you feel like it's kind of a strength now that you know exactly what that feels like, where, like you said, you envision what could happen, good or bad, that you're like, man, even if I take a shot to the nose at the very beginning, this is how you'll grind out the rest of the fight? Not a lot of people, I feel like, have that at such a early stage.
Most people can't even admit that.
Right.
She doesn't understand the mental strength that she possesses. That, like, you know, sometimes her mother and I will get into, like, you know, my wife, because I'm her husband, holds me to a certain level where if I sit there and go, oh, yeah, I'm weak at that, and I'll declare my weaknesses. And she's like, stop. I'm like, well, no, that's confidence. I can sit there and go, this is what I'm not good at, and I'm mortal as you, but I still got the title and you don't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not special, you know, like I'm just normal, and I just, that takes mental strength. Bella to sit there and admit that she has second thoughts, the weaknesses in the brain. Most athletes want to never admit that. And no, they're thinking the same fucking shit. They don't want other people to know that they could be scared. They're nervous. Like, no, I'm scared. I'm terrified. People are like, what? Oh, they almost think like, you know, that's why they overtrain. They do all these kind of crazy things. But the mental strength it takes for her to even admit to that, you understand that by looking and go, wow, like, you're going to say that part out loud? Like, most people don't, you know, because they don't have the strength, the courage, or the tenacity to be able to say those things.
What current UFC fighter reminds you the most of yourself?
Current?
Or former?
Former, definitely dad. Obviously descended from him, but current, I don't know.
The sport's evolving so much and so fast. Bella, right now, the things that she's doing, this high level in every category. It used to be before, I think during my era, it went from people who were one-trick ponies, good at one thing but not good at anything else. We don't even use those terms anymore. They're a grappler versus striker.
Right.
We don't say that anymore because even the person who's the worst grappler in the division is still a good grappler by most standards. That might not be their go-to game, but no one sucks at anything anymore. Everybody's good at everything. And that's the era that pretty much that I evolved through was, okay, we're pretty much good at everything, but you really have one aspect of the game you're great at, that you're high level, And now Bella's from an era that she's going to be where no, she's a world champion in jiu-jitsu, world champion wrestler, world champion we can go into. That's one aspect that we wanted to start competing more into is striking, pure kickboxing matches, Except for some of the kickboxing matches, the rules make it to where it's nothing close to what MMA is. That's why a lot of those people have a hard time converting over to MMA because of the gloves. Even Bella, she was doing something with her blocking style, and it was purely because of boxing gloves. When you raise the elbow too much, you do for example, Dustin Poirier does the same thing where they elevate the elbow as a block. It's actually a bad idea. But the reason why they're doing it is because they have a 12-ounce glove on, or in sparring, 16 ounces, right? If I just elevate my elbow and pivot, now the glove didn't move up, so it's not that hard on my shoulder to do that. I'm kind of keeping it same weight, right? Now, if I do what I should do, which is shield, bring the arm up completely, right? That's like a Bernard Hopkins type of defense, right? We call it the shield. But now I got to raise the glove too. So now my arm feels the 16 ounces and lifts up. So because the human body is always looking for the most efficient way to do things, it's like water going downhill. It finds the path of least resistance. Much easier for me to do this than to do this. But the proper way is to take both lines, you know what I mean? To raise the hand up completely. And so that's the problem with that defense. And again, because of the rules of boxing and kickboxing, make it the least like their version of what their representation is in fighting. It's, I guess wrestling the same way sometimes with the stance.
It's like freestyle and folk style for wrestling. Like freestyle is great for MMA, I guess for the takedowns aspects, but folk style is the best option just because you got top, bottom, and people have to get up, and you're rewarded by getting a point by getting up out of bottom, and the guys on top are also rewarded for holding them down, and so that aspect's great. The part of freestyle that's what I hate is that the second you take someone down, you have about 10 seconds and you stand right back up. And the turns that they do in freestyle also don't relate to MMA at all.
Even a cradle or a pin or something like that done in folk style, I can show you where it has a place for fighting MMA. I'm like, oh, cool. Person shot on you, they stepped up with the wrong leg. You can cradle and put them on their back. And now you're right. You're not getting a pin, but you've taken them off their feet, put them on their back, and now you can establish a better position to go for submissions and beat them up, right? Whereas there's things in freestyle that I'm like, well, that has actually zero application to a fight. The first time I see someone do a leg lace where they twist their ankles and they just rolled across the mat 3 or 4 times, and they blew the whistle. I'm like, what happened? It's over with. I'm like, because she rolled with her? Yeah. I'm like, well, that has no carryover value. That sucks. You know what I mean? How's that going to help us at all fighting? So there are certain aspects of the sport, of each individual sport, boxing, kickboxing, wrestling,
or even jiu-jitsu,
that just have no carryover value over to fighting, So we just, but knowing that, to go out there and be successful and be a world champion at that is very difficult because people got to remember when Bella's out there wrestling's not her number one art. The girl she's going against is probably her number one thing. But Bella, when we practice wrestling, it's always with the mind of, okay, but if it was a fight and the person could throw a punch, so maybe we'll adjust it this way. Or they could throw a knee, so we'll adjust it this way. So we actually still, in her wrestling and jiu-jitsu, still perform like it's a fight. We try not to specialize for that and still win titles, which if you tell anybody, other athlete, that hey, you're going to go out there and do this, but you're going to make this adjustment, but nobody else has to make that adjustment. You know what I mean? You're not going to grab the gi because you can't grab gis in fighting. So, and you're still going to be a world champ without doing that, not taking advantage fully of everything, that all the tools in front of you. We're going to fight at a handicap, which is what we do when we fight jiu-jitsu, when we fight wrestling, when we do boxing. She's at a handicap, and she's still out there winning titles.